Hey guys, it's your girl Vanessa. Welcome back to my channel and thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So I hope all you gorgeous people are doing well today. Thank you guys so much for all of the love and support that you've been showing me on my channel. I appreciate it more than you know, and I just love saying thank you to you guys because without you guys, there is no me. And yeah, I've just been really appreciating all of the support that you've been giving me, and you know, it really shows. My channel has been growing far more than I ever thought it would. But yeah, moving on to today's reading, it is going to be all about the unexpected things happening in your life next week. So I have 5 groups prepared for you, and I want you to pick one of the 5 groups intuitively. The timestamps are down below, and also if you feel drawn to 2 readings, feel free to tune into 2 readings because your personal reading may be a mixture between the 2. And if you're new to my channel, do not forget to subscribe before you leave. And if you like this video, found it insightful or helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up in order to let me know. So yeah, you guys, I'm gonna stop babbling on so we can get straight into the reading. Hey guys, and welcome to today's reading about your next week. So we have group number 1, group number 2, group number 3, group number 4, and group number 5. So as usual, I would like you to pick one of the 5 groups intuitively. If you feel like you need a minute just to pause and meditate on the 5 groups, feel free to do so right now. Otherwise, I will get straight into the readings about your next week with group number 1. Okay, group number 1, let's see what's happening for you next week. So first off, we have something about contentment. So I see that next week is going to be a week where it would be beneficial for you to learn to appreciate what you already have and not think about what it is that you still desire or what you do not yet have. Because when you keep sort of looking at what you don't have, it is hard to ever reach a point of happiness, because if you're used to constantly, looking at what you don't have, it doesn't matter how much you acquire, how much friends, time, money, material possessions that you acquire, you're still going to be looking for that next thing, thinking that that will make you happy. Meanwhile, what will truly make you happy is just being content with what you have now and being happy with your surroundings as they are now. And anything that adds to that, see that as a blessing, see that as something that you didn't expect, as like a positive addition to your life, but never rely on gaining anything in order to be happy. So furthermore, I see that next week is a week where you're going to be sort of tested a little bit. So I see that you have an idea of, what you need in order to be happy, or how you feel like you will be happier. And I feel like next week you will really come to a point where you can feel like there is a block that is not allowing you to get there right now, and you will sort of realize that you don't need that to be happy. You will realize that you can be happy with everything that you have right now, and whatever it is that you're looking to achieve, you're going to see that, like I said, as sort of like a blessing in disguise, sort of like an addition you didn't necessarily need in order to become more happy. So I definitely see the fact that your goals are going to take a little bit of, detours and a little bit of different routes to get to them. The fact that you're going to have to, really use your brain and start to accept your current position and start to embrace it. I see that that is going to work out for the better for you, because you learning to be content in who you are and your position right now, that is going to benefit you for the rest of your life, and that is going to benefit you when you reach, bigger goals that you set for yourself, because you know that when you reach them, you're not going to, the next day wake up and somehow feel like you need more. You're always going to be content no matter what life throws at you. Okay, so then I see that next week is a week where you will indeed find that you have an opportunity knocking on your door. You will have sort of a little miracle, something that you didn't expect, because I see that you will be able to open your heart to the idea of being content, and the universe is going to instantly give you gratification for that, because the universe wants you to be content in your now in order to, truly accept what is reality and learn to embrace reality, whether it's exactly where you want to be in life or it's not quite there yet. It doesn't matter, because what does matter is the fact that you practice gratitude and gratefulness for life. The fact that you woke up this morning and opened your eyes and were able to see, or were able to get yourself out of bed by yourself, or are just able to switch on an electronic device and tune into this reading. These are all things to be grateful for. These are all things that a lot of people wish that they had. And sometimes in our society, it can be so easy to just keep looking out for what we want to gain instead of truly appreciating what we have and first being content with all that is already in our life. So that is what I deem is very important for you next week. Alright, group number 2. Let's see what sort of unexpected things are going to be of importance in your life next week. Alright, so group number 2. I see that independence is something that is of great value to you next week, and I feel like maybe for some reason your independence will be tested. I see that maybe recently you've been sort of exerting codependent traits or codependent behavior to the universe, and that may be, codependent on a friend, maybe codependent on your partner or your family, where you sort of feel almost alone to do certain things by yourself instead of, with somebody else. And I see that it's very important for you to learn to really feed yourself on the inside, to nurture yourself on the inside, and to grow into somebody who doesn't feel uncomfortable going out in public doing things all alone, running errands, getting things done, going to appointments, picking up the phone, making phone calls, etc. It's very important for you to know that all of those things, there's nothing wrong with doing them all alone, that being independent is a truly beautiful trait that will help you conquer a lot of things in life. So I want you to focus on really celebrating your independence next week. So if you're going grocery shopping by yourself, or you're going to, appointments by yourself, if you're doing some DIY project by yourself, I want you to celebrate all of those little things in your day-to-day life that you do all alone, and I want you to know that that shows true strength and true independence, and that it is something to not take for granted. So make sure that you practice more independence next week. Make sure that you focus on it and really, take into account the fact that the universe brought you to this reading to tell you that your independence is something that the universe wants you to work on and expand next week. Alright, so group number 2, I want you to not see this in any negative way whatsoever. This is a warning. This is something to make you sort of look out for yourself. So the universe says that there is something in your life, or there will be something in your life that either, happens next week or starts in the next week that is not as it seems. So the universe wants you to be very, keep your eyes open, as I see that maybe you will not have another pair of eyes to look out for you. And that is why the universe wants you to be strong on your own and strong in your independent ways in order to not fall victim to any sort of trickery that is happening. So I want you to know that, even though there are a lot of amazing people in this world, there are still people who, deceive, and people who want to take advantage of others. And sadly, we can all sort of fall victim to it. And the universe is calling out to you to keep your eyes open and be aware of all the relationships around you, especially any sort of new relationships. And I don't mean deep relationships necessarily. Even if you're just, for instance, getting your car fixed, or you're thinking of taking on some sort of loan, anything like that, I want you to be very aware that there are people who take advantage of others in vulnerable positions in order for you to not become one more person that was taken advantage of. So furthermore, the universe wants you to come to a point of clarity where you have sort of an epiphany of the fact that your independence can help you avoid a lot of sticky situations, a lot of situations that are going to be uncomfortable. And the universe also wants you to know that confrontation is something that is sadly unavoidable in life. And if you feel uncomfortable with confrontation, the universe wants you to know to pick your battles wisely, to not be afraid to fight for what is right, because as I already spoke about, in trickery and the victim, humans sadly have, deadly sort of sins to them. Humans have destructive traits that, we can sadly not erase. And there are a lot of human beings out here, sadly, who do things to harm others in order to get ahead. And that is why, you have tuned into this reading, because I feel like maybe you will come in close contact with somebody who could potentially take advantage of you. But because you did tune into this reading, the universe knows that you will have clarity and an epiphany, and you will be able to look out for yourself and make sure that you steer clear of any situations where you would become the victim of the situation. So that is the reading that I get for group number 2. Okay, group number 3, let's see what sort of unexpected things are happening in your life next week. So one thing that I see that is essential for you to practice next week and to be aware of is compassion. So it's important for you to actively practice compassion, not just think that you are a compassionate person, because sometimes we just, we jump to conclusions thinking, oh, we're compassionate because we don't mind helping people. But just because you don't mind doing something doesn't mean that, you're actively being compassionate. So I want you to next week focus on actively being compassionate with yourself. Be the person who goes out of their way to help people. I don't want you to just say, well, if anybody needs help, I'm always happy to, which is already great as is. But next week is a great week to raise your vibration while helping other people, while actively going out and practicing compassion in the form of helping somebody else. So I see that rejection is something that you have either experienced recently or you're sort of afraid of, and I want you to know that fear is not something that you should let take over your life, because if you're not compassionate with yourself and you don't sort of tell yourself whether you get rejected or not, that doesn't change any of your self-worth. That doesn't change who you are and the fact that you're worthy. If you're not aware of that, it can be very easy to become very fearful of rejection and fearful of failure. And I want you to know that rejection is really something that you cannot really control. So you should not stress over things that you cannot control, because that is exactly how practicing compassion works. Just tell yourself, well, I can't really control whether this person ends up liking me. I can't really control whether I get this promotion, whether I get this job. I can't really control all of those things because I put in my part, and if the other person wants to reject me, then, that is up to them. But I want you to know that whether you get rejected or not, that should not change anything of your self-worth, and you knowing that, rejection does not determine your self-worth. Being rejected is something that happens to everyone, and it should never make you feel lesser of yourself. So the universe is really pushing you to face your fears of rejection. The universe really wants you to release the power of fear, and for you to really think about this in a logical way. So the universe really wants you to know that your fear of rejection is ultimately not being compassionate with yourself and is not helping your self-worth, and that it's important to face that fear and just think about it very rationally. You know what I mean? Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So furthermore, I see that next week it is essential to follow your intuition, to follow sort of your gut feeling, and also to use that in order to make the best choices. So I see here that following your intuition will somehow make you feel good about yourself, and following your intuition will make it easier for you to be compassionate with yourself and to be compassionate with others, because you're already following where your body is naturally drawn to. You're already following the path that your soul is naturally drawn to, and that will enable you to make the best life choices. So overall, for group number 3, I feel like it's very important to face your fears that you have of rejection. Maybe you have something big coming up soon where people are going to score you, or where your work is going to be reevaluated, or you as a person is going to be reevaluated if it has to do with love. And I see, a sort of fear of rejection that I want you to release and not let impact you on a negative way. So focus on being compassionate with other people, actively compassionate, as well as being actively compassionate with yourself next week. So that is the reading that I get for group number 3. Okay, group number 4, let's see what kind of unexpected things are happening for you next week. Okay, so one thing that I see here that has sort of been blocking your creative flow, that has been blocking your vibrations more than necessary, is the fact that spaciousness is something that is important, but you haven't properly been able to practice in your life, that hasn't been properly implemented, or that has, over time become less important. So next week I see that it is very important for you to release whatever people, places, things that, drain your vital energy, that drain your vital essence, and show that, you don't need that. Show the universe that you're ready to let go of things that do not serve you. So if you have, clutter that you have been wanting to clear out, maybe there are things in your wardrobe that you have never worn, you're never going to wear, but you don't want to clear them out because you somehow feel guilty. It's important for you to overcome that and create spaciousness in your life because often, human beings thrive on not having too many possessions. I know that I personally always feel better when I'm in a very clean home and when I don't have too many choices of clothes, too many choices of, just things lying around in my space. So make sure that you clear up your space, that you give your space that deep clean. Maybe you need to do your spring cleaning a little earlier, and also, just make sure that if there are any situations that do not serve you, that are draining you, make sure that you clear them out and create more space and more time in your life, because the less sort of clutter you have in your life, the less cleaning up you need to do, the less working around the clutter you need to do, if you know what I mean. And that goes for material things in your home, as well as relationships that you're not really 100% into. Then we have abundance as well as instinct. So one thing that I see is that the universe is predicting a sort of positive outlook and attitude that is going to attract more abundance into your life. So, abundance is very sort of subjective. No matter what your situation is, whether you have millions in your bank account or an unlimited fund of time, or, both of these things, abundance is still subjective. Even if you have what everybody wants, does not mean that you feel abundant. But I see that you are the kind of person who can, in fact, be grateful for what they have. You're the kind of person who is able to make that switch mentally to change from feeling like they're not abundant to being abundant. And I want you next week to make that switch very consciously. Wake up in the morning and just say how grateful you are to have a roof over your head. Say how grateful you are to have clothes on your back. Say how grateful you are to be able to feed yourself, to be able to tune into YouTube and, listen to these readings that inspire you and that give you, new sort of ideas of how to become a better you. And another thing that I see for next week is that spaciousness is something where you need to work with your instinct. I see that in order to clear out clutter, you need to work with your instinct, as your instinct will tell you exactly what needs to go and what doesn't. So I want you to go with the flow of your gut feeling, to go with the flow of your instinct, whether it has to do with relationships that you feel like you need to distance yourself from, or just getting rid of things. If you know deep down instinctually this is not a relationship, or these are not items that I need in my life, just get rid of them. Do not think about it for too long. So next week I see that it's going to be a positive week for you. It's going to be a week where you feel like you're living life to the fullest. It's going to be a week where you're definitely a lot more mindful and where you feel like you can just be yourself, where you can just blaze your own trail. I see that next week is a week where, as soon as you turn that switch on of feeling abundant no matter the situation, and you sort of clear out the clutter, you're going to feel invincible for at least a little bit. You're going to feel like, you can be yourself. You can go after these sort of creative ventures that you wanted to go after because you've now created this space and this time, this clutter-free zone, in order for you to, be creative again, and in order for you to live life to the fullest. And I see that competition is something that you might be worried about. So maybe you're worried about competition at your workplace, or competition in whatever sort of original creative venture it is that you've always wanted to do. And I just want you to know that just because other people are doing it doesn't mean that you cannot do it as well. Because one thing in business and one thing in starting a creative venture is the fact that if somebody else is doing it and it's already working, that is a good sign. So know that you are not in competition as long as you put your own original twist on things. But also know that, feeling like somebody else is doing what you're already doing, if they are in fact successful at it, then know that it's something that the world needs and that can actually work. So that is the reading that I get for group number 4 for next week. Okay, group number 5. Let's see what unexpected things are happening in your life next week. Okay, so next week I see that it's important for you to embrace taking time out, taking time to yourself, and being just in solitude for a little bit. So I know that it could maybe be difficult for you to be alone for a prolonged amount of time. Maybe you are someone who thrives off talking to other people. At the same time, maybe you are an introvert and you're sort of already comfortable with solitude. But either way, I see that next week is a week where you will come to sort of like a new type of clarity. You will discover a new part of yourself if you just take time to retract. So if you have a busy week next week, I want you to make sure that you take, at least a day for you to just do something that brings you into your flow state. So if you get into your flow state by writing or drawing or journaling, I want you to really plan in time to do that and to stick to it, as I see that a little bit of time to recharge and a little bit of time to yourself is going to be very beneficial. So one thing that I see is that confusion is something that is in your life right now. So maybe you're confused about a certain situation, why something has happened to you, or you're confused about a relationship. And I feel like what you really need is just, like I said, to take time to recharge and know that you must balance what's going on in your head. Because if you're constantly sort of thinking, why has this happened to me? Why is this person not talking to me? Why have I had this sort of misfortune in my life? If you keep focusing on, the negative and things that have happened and you keep trying to sort of justify why they may have happened to you, then that is going to put your emotional state in an imbalanced place where you're focusing more on the negative than on the positives. Because we humans, we're already sort of predisposed to focus more on negative things than positive things. And if you actually allow yourself to practice that predisposition, it's going to make you, just sort of unhappy, and it's going to make you feel not only confused, but also like things are your fault. So I want you to know that while confusion is part of humanity, I also want you to know that, you do have the key to goodness. You do have those things in you that can get you out of any slump, and unfortunately, bad things can happen to good people as well. Confusion is something that can sort of bring you out of balance and make you not feel your best. But at the same time, I see that your spirit guides are telling you to not be confused, to not let that bring you out of balance, and to move forward towards positive change. As I see that one thing that you haven't taken the time to do, because maybe it has made you feel uncomfortable recently, is to cherish the memories of loved ones. So maybe somebody close to you passed. It could be a pet, it could be just somebody in your family, and I see that maybe you haven't taken time to cherish those memories. And if you feel like, it is somebody who you're close to, but they live very far away, and all you have right now are just memories, and you don't really have anything else to stand on, it is important for you to cherish the memories and also think of, how can I make new memories if that is possible. And of course, if it isn't possible, cherish those memories and keep all of this person, keep this pet in remembrance in a very positive way. So group number 5, as already mentioned, I want you to definitely practice, to just be by yourself and get into that flow state with something that makes you happy, with something that you're good at, and also to make sure that you practice balance and don't let confusion sort of disrupt your life, and continue to move forward and push forward towards positive change, as I see that more positive change is coming towards you very soon. So group number 5, that is the reading that I get for your next week.